Hello, children. Let's go with our topic microorganisms. It's a chapter 3 of biology, the world of microorganisms. Last class we had introduction to microorganisms. Now, in detail with our text, let's we go. Why do we add few drops of buttermilk to lukewarm milk to make curd? As children, we all be preparing curd at home, no? Why? Why do we adding buttermilk to lukewarm milk only? Why not chilled milk? Let's see. Curd contains bacteria called lactobacillus, which is added to warm milk to make more curd. That means this bacteria needs suitable temperature for its growth and multiplication. That is why warm milk is used. That means at this warm temperature, this bacteria, that is lactobacillus bacteria, acts. Then only milk is converted into curd. Curd is formed by a chemical reaction between bacteria and milk protein called casein. Changing of milk into curd is a chemical change because the sugar in milk gets converted to acid. What is the sugar in milk? That is lactose. That is converted into acid, that is lactic acid, which in turn changes milk from liquid form to solid form. That means milk contains a sugar called lactose. This lactose turns to lactic acid due to the presence of bacteria in the milk, that is lactobacillus bacteria. The increase in lactic acid causes the milk solids to set into curd. This is an irreversible change. Irreversible in the sense we can change milk into curd, but again curd can't be reversed, changed to milk. That is irreversible change. Milk contains various molecules, one of which is sugar, specifically lactose. Curd contains special form of bacteria which consumes sugar. This bacteria eats on this lactose sugar, predominantly lactobacillus bacteria, and they not only consume sugar, but after consuming they convert that sugar into an acid. That is, in this case, lactose is converted into lactic acid. So next time you notice that tangy taste in the curd, we don't have the taste like a milk. Know this, that it is because of these bacteria's ability to break sugar into acid. In short form, conversion of sugar into acid is called fermentation process. Bacteria in yogurt. Yogurt is curd, children. Okay. Low fat curd is yogurt. Milk. In milk we have casein protein, micelles in the sense small groups, bundles. Those are of 10 to the power of minus 7 meters in diameter. It's a fat globule you could see here. In yogurt, bacteria produce acid. So that acid causes casein bundles to fall apart into separate casein molecules. That bundles break and form molecules. These again rebind. Again they come together to each other in a network that traps water. They form like a bridges, all the molecules. In between these bridges water will be filled. That makes it a gel. This is how yogurt is formed from the milk. Yogurt. It is produced by adding a starter of active yogurt containing a culture of Lactobacillus bulgaricus. Starter in the sense few amount of buttermilk we be adding, yogurt we be adding, that is a starter. This produces lactic acid during fermentation of lactose. So what is happening here? Lactose along with water and bacteria converting into lactic acid. See here the procedure. Raw milk, it is homogenization or pasteurized, crushed for fat by pressure. Then it is cooled. The milk is cooled to about 40 degrees. Then now it is added. The starter, the buttermilk is added that contains bacteria. Then milk is mixed with the starter. Then the fermentation process starts. So it is kept at about 40 degrees, which the lactic acid bacterium ferment easily. Till cooling, when it is fermented well, it is cooled in order to continue to ferment anymore. So in order that completely cooled, the fermentation process stops. Then at last the yogurt is formed. Definition of fermentation. Fermentation is a metabolic process in which an organism converts a carbohydrate. Here that we have that sugar, that is carbohydrate such as starch or sugar, into an alcohol. We have that lactose, that is converted into alcohol or an acid. Here lactic acid it is formed. For example, yeast perform fermentation to obtain energy by converting sugar into alcohol. The science of fermentation is known as zymology. So sugar plus yeast. Yeast is a fungi. It's acting on here, that undergoes the process of fermentation, and it forms alcohol and carbon dioxide gas will be released. This is the fermentation process. Next, why does even cooked food get spoiled after some days? Even the cooked food, we can't keep it for many days. We can't eat after many days, isn't it or not? After some days, it will be spoiled. Why? Let's see. Microscopic bacteria cause food to spoil. These tiny organisms called spoilage bacteria consume unprotected foods and produce waste products. The foods which we won't protect, which we kept outside for many days, those will be consumed by the spoilage bacteria and produce the waste products. As long as nutrition and water are present in that unprotected food, as long as nutrition, water is present, bacteria will multiply. Bacteria will be growing on, sometimes rapidly, most fast. Bacterial waste is the cause of the foul smell. Bacterial waste which is formed, that is causing the foul smell and rotten appearance of spoiled food. So due to this microscopic bacteria, food which is unprotected, kept for many days, will be spoiled. Next, why do we get bad smell from our mouth after we wake up in the morning? As children, every day as we wake up, we be getting bad smell from our mouth. For that, as we wake up, we be washing our mouth. Yes? Yes. Why? Because of poor oral hygiene. That means if you are not brushing or flossing effectively, food particles can get stuck in crevices on the surface of the tongue, between the teeth. Crevices means small gaps, or along our gum tissue. The bacteria in your mouth will break down those food particles, which releases the lovely bad breath come morning time. So here also the same thing. Whatever the food particles left over, those will be acted upon by the bacteria, and those bacteria will be giving out bad particles that produces bad breath. So we have to follow oral hygiene properly in order to avoid bad breath in the morning time. Next, in this chapter we will try to find out what may be involved in causing such changes. 400 years back, several people wondered over such questions and tried to find out answers. One such person was Antony von Leeuwenhoek. Let's see. This is a picture of Antony von Leeuwenhoek. He discovered this microscope. Okay. In 1673, Leeuwenhoek is a Dutch microscope maker, was first to view living things. Leeuwenhoek used a simple handheld microscope to view pond water. See, you could see the organism there shown and the microscope. Let's see the microscope in detail. The parts of the microscope. It has an elevating screw, focusing screw, screw plate, specimen mount and lens. Through the lens we watch the specimen, that which is kept on the specimen mount. We adjust with the screw plate, focusing screw and elevating screw. Next page number 29. His keen observation of different materials under his microscope helped him to discover small moving organisms in 1678. He called them animalcules. He called those organisms animalcules. Later these were named bacteria. Along with the animalcules, he also observed many other microorganisms under his microscope which were named later on. This helped in further discovery of other microorganisms. Not only bacteria, some other microorganisms also he discovered. Those were named afterwards. Now let us see what are microorganisms and where we can find them. In previous class, we had some introduction, but now in detail we go with our text. Microorganisms. We can see several organisms in our surroundings, but we cannot see some of them with our naked eyes. Yes or no, children? They can be seen only with the help of a microscope. They are called microorganisms. Some of the microorganisms are shown here in the figures. Let's see. The classification of microorganism. We have 6 classes of microorganisms: bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, viruses, and microarthropods. Okay. First, with bacteria, we go with bacteria. These are given in our text. Coccus, bacillus, lactobacillus are different shapes of bacteria. Your coccus in the sense spherical bacteria, bacillus rod shaped, spirochete, it's a spiral, streptococci, this cocci bacteria as like chain, they will be joined, that is streptococci. Diplococci, two cocci bacteria joined together. Vibrio, it has flagella. Spirillum, it is like a spring, spiral. These are different forms of bacteria. Let's we have some examples here. Bacilli, it's a rod shaped, cocci, spherical shaped, comma shaped, that's a vibrio bacteria. Spirilla, spiral bacteria. See, circular bacteria, we have diplococci, streptococci, staphylococci. Rod shaped, coccobacillus, streptobacillus, mycobacteria. Curved forms, vibrio, spirilla, spirochete. Other shapes also we have Helicobacter, Corynebacterium, Streptomyces. It's a Streptomyces, it's like filaments. Corynebacterium, it's a club shape, as like a tennis bat we have. Helicobacteria, helical shape as a DNA structure. Okay, next we go with fungi. So in text we have the examples: Penicillium, Rhizopus, Aspergillus. So Rhizopus structure they have given. Let's see. Rhizopus is formed on the bread mold. See, bread mold, how it looks like. Penicillium structure, Aspergillus. In detail structure of Rhizopus, let's see. It has hyphae, thin filament like structures. Through hyphae they take food. Okay. And from them they extend like a thin filament, and it has a bulb like structure called sporangium. When the sporangium breaks, it gives out spores. These spores, where they fall, again they form this sporangium with the hyphae. Next, protozoa. Amoeba, paramecium, vorticella, etc. are protozoans. Example we have here Euglena also. It is also a protozoan. It has flagellum, stigma, nucleolus, chloroplast, pellicle is the covering, contractile vacuole, nucleus, reservoir. Next, paramecium. It is a chapel shaped structure, chapel shaped organism. Okay. This is paramecium consisting of completely cilia over the pellicle. It has an oral groove to take food inside and anal pore to give outside. Oral groove opens into the cell mouth. It has food vacuoles into which food will be taken. Cytoplasm is present. A macronucleus and a micronucleus is present. Contractile vacuole and radiating canals are present in it. Next, amoeba. It's a shapeless organism. It has pseudopodia, which looks like food but not real food. It has a food vacuole, ectoplasm, contractile vacuole, plasma gel, plasma cell, and uroid, along with water vacuoles. Next, vorticella. It's cup-like structure consisting of cilia. These cilia, flagella, whatever, those all are helping in movement. Okay, this is the structure of vorticella. Next, page number 30. We go with algae. Algae. So we have Chlamydomonas, Spirogyra, Diatom, Spirulina, Idogonium, Serratium as examples. Let's see the structure in detail. Next, we have some more examples of algae: Chlorella, Botococcus, Cladophora, Spirogyra, Stigioclonium, Hydrodictyon. Next, diatom, it is a clear structure of it. Idagonium, clear structure, this is chlamydomonas structure. Next is serratium structure. This is spirulina structure. Okay. Next, microarthropods. Cyclops, Daphnia, Scabismite, Eyelashmite are the examples. Let's see their structure in detail. Before that, let's go with what is an arthropod. An arthropod, in the sense, arthro means joint, pod means foot, means joint footed animals. That the invertebrate animal having an exoskeleton, a segmented body, and paired jointed appendages. As like we figures have joints, the same way the animals with those joints. These phylum form a phylum Euarthropoda. Eu in the sense true arthropoda, which includes insects, arachnids, myriapods, and crustaceans. Okay, crustaceans in the sense crabs. Arthropods, any member of the phylum Arthropoda, the largest phylum in the animal kingdom, which includes such familiar forms as lobsters, crabs, spiders, mites, insects, centipedes, and millipedes. About 84% of all known species of animals are members of this phylum. Next, these examples: the Cyclops, Daphnia, Scabismite, Eyelashmite. These are the examples of protozoans. Microarthropods. Next, groups of microorganisms. Let us study some microorganisms that belong to the groups like bacteria, fungi, protozoa, algae, and certain microarthropods with the help of some activities. For this, we need a microscope. You already know how to use it. You can also refer to chapter Cell, Basic Unit of Life. There we have done the scrapings of our mouth, onion peel. These all we have observed under microscope. Yes, children. Go with the activity 1. Microorganisms in water. How could we find microorganisms in water? Let's see. First, collect some pond water or water from any tank in your surroundings. Take some of the greenish scrapings from the side of the tank. The greenish scrapings are algae. Take 1 to 2 drops of water from the sample you have collected on a slide and observe it under the microscope. Draw rough sketches in your notebook of what you have observed. Then compare it with the figures given above for observation and identification. You may also hold discussion about their shape, size, and other characteristics difference. Take the help of your teacher also. Let's see. First, collect the sample from the pond water. Then, add 2 to 3 drops of sample on a slide. Slide with the sample, you could see here. Placing the slide with sample under microscope. Observing the sample. Can you name the organisms which you have observed through the microscope? Yes, according to structure we could name them. Let's see. It's protozoans. These are like amoeba. In amoeba we could see the pseudopodia, paramecium. These are chapel-like structures. Vorticella, cup-shaped. Daphnia, it's a microarthropod. Hydra. So these are the organisms we have found and we could name them. Okay, this is about the microorganisms part 1 till activity 1 for today.